It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Black Eagle Arrows,
Cabela's,
Antler Action,
Spot Shooter Archery,
Tom's Custom Turkey Calls,
Family Traditions Tree Stands,
and Badass Slingshots.
Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin this fine January evening, 2017. This is our first show of 2017. Dan, what's going on?
It is. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right on.
We are into our first full week of the year. It's cold.
It is cold.
It's January.
It's supposed to warm up a little bit this coming week,
Yeah,
though.
I saw that. We're going to get in the 40s. So,
But Danny brought me my coffee again here, as always, and another donut, like I really needed that. Dude, I'm not going ice fishing with you. I don't care what you say.
Well, we're building up our stamina for walking around the next 3 days.
That's right. We're going to be in Indianapolis at ATA. We're going to try to do some live streaming down there.
Which we don't know if it'll work because...
We say this every year.
Because there is so much data being transmitted into these things.
Yeah.
It's...
Bandwidth is an issue. So.
Yes, so we might be in a spot where we can. We might be in a spot where we can't.
Yeah, and we'll try to do some on our way down as well.
Oh, yeah.
While we're traveling. So stay tuned for updates on our Facebook page.
Got a 4.5-hour drive. We're going to take off and head down there. It looks like it's good weather, so
good.
I'm all right with
It's going to be a little warmer than usual. Shouldn't be any major snow, so...
I heard as far as I can tell, no major snowstorms.
Every year, it's always treacherous.
It is. It can be.
So,
but we're going to miss it, I think. I think we're actually going to be south of it.
I hope so.
So,
well, folks, for those of you who are listening to the podcast on a regular basis, and, we talked about this before, we are live streaming on Facebook, but I tried something a little different today. I put a little teaser out there about what we're going to talk tonight on the show, I should say, and asked for a little bit of feedback. And actually, we did get some feedback that we're going to include in the show. I'm going to try to cover everything that we said we were going to talk about, but all of a sudden, we got 2 hits here that kind of expanded things a little bit.
Yep, exactly. It's all right. That's what we want.
So the first one was from Ted Rutko. And strangely enough, Ted, you asked this question. He said about all the snow on the West Coast that they had gotten over there. Can you touch on supplemental turkey feeding? And strangely enough, before that you posted that question, I was talking to our camp manager, and we were discussing this very question about supplemental turkey feeding, why we didn't do it at our place.
Right.
And that if we did, we'd actually have a better turkey population in our area because the winters are so hard up in northern Michigan that without supplemental feeding, you just don't have a lot of birds.
No, you don't. We have more and more every year, but I've got a few around me in the UP. Mm-hmm. But I tell you the truth, I actually thought the numbers were going to kind of explode more than they did, but they're kind of hit and miss, it seems, in my area.
Okay. Do people up in your neck of the woods, do they supplemental feed turkeys?
As far as I know, no, they don't.
Okay. Does the DNR?
You know what? That I don't know if they actually go out and specifically go after the deer or the turkeys to supplemental feed. That I don't know.
Okay.
I heard like later on into like the March and stuff like that. When it gets later, if they need to, they will.
In late winter?
Right.
Okay.
Just to kind of help them get through that last 2 months. But I haven't, and we'll see that come out in the paper that said, oh, they
did this or they did that.
Yeah, they approved somebody to supplemental feed. And,
gotcha.
But I don't know if they specifically go out for turkeys.
Okay. In northern Michigan, where I hunt, in northeastern lower Michigan, being that we're in the TB zone, DMU 452, 487, however you want to signify that, they call it by 2 different numbers, we're not allowed to bait or supplemental feed deer. So with that being said, we have to be very meticulous in the way we do any other feeding.
Yep.
Turkey feeding, you have to have deer-proof turkey feeders. So deer can't get in there because, I mean, you're putting grain, you're putting corn in, what have you, to get the turkeys through that hard part of the winter. Well, the deer love it too. That's the problem. So the other issue is if we had something like that and we put it out too soon, then the bear can actually get into it, knock them over, roll them around, push them over, and then you've got the feet on the ground. Well, there you've got the deer on. So we don't have a really good way of making it happen that I know of to be able to supplemental feed. So that's the reason we don't do that at our camp. So The other issue that we've kind of run into, and actually Dan and I did a quick little research from NWTF, and they do not suggest it at all.
Right, because
a couple of reasons.
Yeah, a couple of reasons that they're talking about is, and it kind of makes sense, is you're kind of, if you're going to be supplemental feeding them and you're introducing grains that aren't typically in their area, you're all of a sudden you're starting to draw them in to that area where they get dependent on that. And if what happens is, if they become dependent on that grain and then all of a sudden you stop, they get in trouble pretty quick. And so you're also taking that into consideration. When you do it like that, they tend to also, towards the spring, they might stick longer in the area that they are being fed as opposed to breaking out of their groups and heading off for the spring.
Yeah, the problem was they stay banded up together when it comes to that breeding season, that pre-breeding season, when they start to break up and get into their groups, smaller groups, that it prolongs that.
Right, exactly. And so that kind of can be detrimental. And then something else we read was the commercial grains that you are feeding sometimes can carry a bacteria, a mold, something that gets into the turkeys themselves and actually kills them.
Right.
And we read where they've had some serious die-off or kill-off, however you want to call it, because of that.
Right.
So you do something like that and that happens, that's totally reverse what you're trying to do.
Stored grain.
Right.
Yeah, talking about stored grains.
So, yeah, and so it kind of, reading through this stuff, and you can do it, but they're kind of saying not to do it.
Yeah.
Let them kind of do it on their own, so it's a natural thing.
Right. And the one thing that they did suggest, talking about their winter feeding areas, Ted, if you've got access to private land and you're able to do this, and you're in those winter feeding grounds that they typically range in, then do some food plots specifically for turkey. Plant things that they will normally go after that time of the year.
Right. What the DNR do here in our area here is they'll go into some state land, and there's a few tracts, and they've planted corn, they've planted sunflowers, and they just let it go.
Yeah.
And so all winter long, the birds, the deer, everything that needs to feed can head there and knock the stalks down and get something.
Right.
So it's a natural, they're there.
The other thing that kind of goes along with, and actually before he had posted this question, after I talked to our camp manager, I found I found this article going back over, I believe it was in New Hampshire, and they had 5 or 6 deer in a community that they found all huddled together dead. And they did the deer necropsies on them, found out they were feeding them corn. People were feeding them corn. Well, they fed them at high concentration. We've seen deer die off the same way. It's toxic to them. What happens is that their stomach, being that they're like what do they call those? 4-chambered stomachs.
Multi-chambered stomach.
Like a cow.
Yep.
The rumen, it takes time for them to switch from one food source to another. And usually when they're coming out of winter feeding, when they're eating a lot of woody type plant material and they get into those green fields at first spring, that gradual increase you'll see, and I've seen this before, where you'll see the deer scat is actually a little runny.
Yep.
And that's the rumen changing over and getting used to that new greener plant material.
Correct. The change in food diet.
And when you change it real quick like that, and you supplemental feed and put a lot of corn out for them, you think you're doing the right thing, their stomach can't handle it.
Right, exactly. That's why try to get some. If you don't do 100% corn, if you're gonna do it, get something else in there, like a greeny type thing that kind of, like you said, that turnover. It's just not boom. It's all corn,
right,
and nothing but corn for whatever.
Right.
So and that's one of the things that it's just being cognizant of what you're trying to do and being helpful instead of detrimental.
Right. And people, they got the right attitude. They want to help.
Oh, absolutely.
They're trying to help. It's just, we're finding out now through science and that certain things we think are good for them are not. So, it's better off to err on the side of caution. And maybe just, if you're going to put feed out for turkeys like that, don't put a lot. Don't attract big flocks of birds, and do it very sparingly.
Oh, and that was the other part of that is what happens when you start doing that. And like you said, you attract a flock. They get so dependent on you feeding them, they won't go anywhere. And we read the one column where somebody was explaining that because the animal does eat, it does have to poo.
Yeah.
And it just so happens, it was all over his cars and everything. And they were in the trees above his cars, and they were just...
Well,
so it got messy.
We see it here, especially around the lake areas with geese.
Oh, it isn't? Oh.
It's slicker than owl snot.
I'm telling you, there is nothing worse than I've taken the dogs for walks over at the park there, and you're walking along, and you try to get by the water there, and it's everywhere.
Right.
I mean, it's just there.
People want to see wildlife. They like to see them in city parks and things, but then when they start getting in their yards and on their vehicles and it's things like that, depending on what type of animal, or eating their flowers, then all of a sudden it becomes a problem.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of problems,
there
was something down in Ann Arbor here this week that come out, and you know what? I think what we're going to do, because this might take a little while, let's take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about, in the city of Ann Arbor here in Michigan, they voted to actually sterilize deer to keep them from breeding. And the Michigan DNR approved it. We're going to talk about that when we come back. So we're going to step outside, take our first break. I'm going to finish my coffee. And for those of you on Facebook here, we're going to sign off on this first segment. When we come back, we'll fire it right back up and we'll get right into it. So we'll be right back after this.
I shoot PSE because I like one pin to 40 yards.
I shoot PSE for the perfect combination of feel and performance.
I shoot PSE because you can shoot lighter poundage and increase arrow speed.
I shoot PSE for the fastest bows on the planet.
I shoot PSE because my livelihood depends on my bow.
I shoot PSE because better engineering makes a better bow.
I shoot PSE.
I shoot PSE.
I shoot PSE. I shoot PSE.
Experience PSE. Experience performance.
We know the future of hunting depends on our nation's youth. But did you know that in many states, it's illegal for you to take your son or daughter hunting until the age of 12 or even older? As a result, we have fewer young hunters, and the Families Afield program is designed to eliminate those barriers. Hunting is safe, and the safest hunters afield are young people with adult mentors. Visit our website at familiesafield.org to find out how you can bring more families afield.
Welcome back, everybody. Second segment. Still got my coffee here. I'm going to try to finish this up here. You want to fill people in on what's going on down in Ann Arbor?
Oh, you know what?
Down in A Squared.
Just, last few years down in Ann Arbor here, they've had an issue with some deer. Too many deer. Imagine that, right?
Right.
So comes up, how do we want to get rid of the deer? All right. Deer seems to be eating all of my flowers, so I'm kind of cheesed off, right? So we need to get rid of the deer. Funny thing is, was it last year? I think they hired some sharpshooters in.
Yep.
To come in, and they did a calling at night.
Yep.
At first, there was an uproar. You can't do this, blah, blah, blah. There was some council meetings. It was on the news. They were out there protesting. Deer got to live. But they said, no, well, we're going to take care of it this way this time.
DLM?
DLM.
Deer Lives Matter?
Deer Lives Matter.
Yes, I went there. I'm sorry.
You did.
I did go there.
So, lo and behold, sharpshooter comes out, nighttime,
right.
Boom. And I think, from what I'm reading, if I remember right, they donated the meat.
Yeah, they did something like, I don't know if it was for Hunters for the Hungry.
Something like that, yeah.
But yeah, it went to local food shelters, food pantries.
They shot the deer, and they just didn't leave them lay. They went and got them.
Mm-hmm.
They took all the necessary things. Everything was used. Nothing went to waste.
Right.
Free food, however many they ended up shooting, can't beat that.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, we have not so a hard winter here, and the problem's back.
Yeah. Well, the Humane Society of the United States got their stinking furry nose in it, and
don't call them. They don't like furry nose.
Yeah. Well, they're fur huggers.
They want
tree
feather.
huggers. Yeah. Whatever.
Anyway, so yeah. So okay. So here we are. We're right back to square one again.
Mm-hmm.
We got too many deer. How are we going to do it? How are we going to get rid of it?
They're going to follow Staten Island's recommendation of what they're doing over in New York, and they're going to sterilize does.
So with that being said, they're using the same company, I guess.
Yep.
That
White Buffalo.
That has
Incorporated.
Is doing the Rhode Island thing.
Right.
So we're going to sterilize some deer.
Yeah. And the problem with that is the DNR had to give their approval. And they gave their approval to do this. But I don't know about other states, but in the state of Michigan, all wildlife belongs to the residents of the state of Michigan. So those deer that are down there are yours and mine, as well as the ones up in your place and my place and over out west. They're all of ours. They're all of everybody's in the state of Michigan.
Right, exactly. And lo and behold, right, they said that they had they did a budget for the city of Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. And I don't quote me on these numbers, but I thought this project was going to cost like $200,000.
Yeah, I don't know how many they were going to do.
It was something like that, right? Yeah. And they're already predicting a deficit for their budget.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they're going to go out and spend $200,000.
That's for the people of Ann Arbor. Those residents are paying that bill.
Right. Instead of, imagine this, getting some hunters in there to actually take care of it, who would pay a license fee.
Yep.
Who would do, and would use the venison. But anyways...
Or have it donated.
However they wanted to do it. But nope, they're going to spend the money. They're going to have these deer sterilization. So how do you think that's going to work out?
Well, it's a waste of the resource, number one. The resource is not being renewed via new deer being born. Obviously, they've got a problem there. They need to get them out of there. But don't you think that more deer are going to keep coming in? It's the carrying capacity of the land versus how many animals we actually have. So you reduce the number of animals, carrying capacity it doesn't grow, but there's more food there because there's less animals. Well, more deer are going to come in.
That's all I can.
It's a perpetual problem.
How are you going to know you see two does, and how do you know if one is sterilized and the next?
I don't know.
Right, exactly. Okay, so
maybe they'll tag them. I don't know.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they'll tag them. They'll ear tag them or something like that to identify them. But like you said, okay, so we have a good spring. All the shoots come up, and all of a sudden more deer come in because there's more food there.
Yeah. Well, here's the other problem I've got with this. Let's take this a step further. Okay, let's say they do this. Humane Society of the United States, they get their way. All of a sudden now we have insurance companies go, well, we can get rid of more deer this way and have this big anti-hunting organization back it.
Yep.
So then they're tampering with more of our resource. Or you get these other anti-hunting groups involved. I'm just saying, or maybe the Department of Ag, because we've got TB up in my area, or we've got CWD over here. And, when you got Department of Ag involved because of the bovine tuberculosis,
yep,
it's a perpetual problem.
So
the DNR is on our side, supposed to be on our side.
Okay, there you go.
We pay for our tags. We pay their wages. It all comes out of what we pay.
So is that a sound science decision?
No.
So what's going on with our DNR?
I don't know.
We're gonna have to stick reading this story and see how this turns out. But it was it should cheese you off.
Oh, it did.
Big time. Here it is.
But MUCC, they're on top of this.
Yes,
that's actually where I found the story at.
They're the one that came out and posted it all over Facebook last week, and then we were sharing it. Everybody was sharing it.
Michigan United Conservation Club, they're on top of it. They're going to follow it through, and hopefully we're going to get some action against this.
That is one organization that they're doing a pretty good job.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so, but yeah, so now here you go, sound science. We're going to have sound science management decisions, and by the way, we're going to do this.
Yeah. Where'd that come from?
Thank you. Where did that come from that you decided to do that?
I'd like to know who made that decision, or group of people made that decision, and what were they thinking? Where did that whole line of reasoning come from, and why?
Right, exactly. So, oh man, I think this is one story we're going to have to stay on top, because when they go and do this, it'll be interesting. I'm going to assume that the news is going to be out there for this whenever they go ahead to do this.
I would think so. Yeah, I would hope so.
Because it sure was there when they had the little anti-hunters out in front of the council meeting.
Yep. Well, here's the other issue too: is once they're going to tranquilize those deer, do the operation on them, and then let them go. That stresses the deer. Number one.
Okay. Yep.
They don't always recover from that anesthesia and get back on their feet and take off and go live a happy life. It's very, very stressful on these deer. Depends on what time of the year you do it too. If you do it this time of the year, you reduce that heart rate enough, hypothermia can set in, and they don't recover from that either. So
there's a whole lot of bad that can go wrong.
Basically, you're paying for somebody to go out and tranquilize a deer, and it may or may not recover from it, and you're paying a lot of money for that.
They're paying a lot of money for that, and I didn't see any numbers for success rate or whatever rate of recovery, but I kind of hope that the news, and I don't know if that sticks with it and kind of watches this to see if some things do go wrong with this. If they don't get, let's say they do 10 and 3 of them don't get up.
Yeah.
Are they just going to say, oh, that happens?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's...
Well, I tell you what, shifting gears just a little bit, something else that's in the news, and I think this is going to eventually trickle down to us hunters, sportsmen, and shooters, is what happened in Fort Lauderdale this weekend with the airport shooting, with the gentleman who, with the dude who came out of Alaska. Dude. Yeah,
so it bought a one-way ticket.
Yeah, and came down to Fort Lauderdale. The gist of the story, from what I'm hearing now, and I'm telling you, this is what I've heard. We don't know all the facts yet, but basically he had a gun that was checked in legally, a legal firearm, checked into his baggage. It went into the belly of the plane. It got sent with him to Fort Lauderdale. He got off the plane, went over, picked his bag up at the carousel, which is a soft target. There's basically no guards around that area, from what I understand, and took his bag, went into the bathroom, loaded the firearm, come back out, and started popping people.
Yes.
Okay, so everything...
One time the airplane has their luggage on time.
Right. So from all of what we've seen, everything was followed. The protocol of taking and getting a gun safely from point A to point B back into the owner's hands was followed, and we still had a mass shooting. Okay.
Which he has confessed that he was purposely going to do.
Right. So,
which is interesting because... And I don't know the makeup of the Tampa airport, but when I was in Nashville, there was police officers.
Fort Lauderdale.
Right. But when I was in Nashville, they had their ARs strapped to their chest, and they were walking with them.
When you got off the plane? When you were on the baggage claim?
Okay, that's the part. It was when I was coming into the airport.
Okay.
Before I went through
security?
The security check.
Okay.
So in the big, I guess, the lobby. So I actually felt comfortable. I was like, oh, okay. I'm cool with that. And I seen several of them. It just wasn't one guy. There was, when I walked, I seen about 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
But here in Fort Lauderdale, we don't know the setup, but yeah, he grabbed his bags, went in the bathroom, loaded up, and came out and started shooting.
See, and what I think is going to happen is the outcry is going to be, we need to change gun laws. We need to change our security protocol. We already seen a couple airlines back when the whole stupid lion deal was that.
Cecil the lion?
They weren't going to transport guns over if you're going for a hunt, what have you, yada, yada, yada. I think this is going to lead to some of that, where we get some airlines now that aren't going to transport any firearms, period. Okay? There's going to be a fallout of this somehow, and we're going to see it from a sportsman's point of view. Like if you and I want to go out west and we want to go on an elk hunt, let's say out Arizona.
We're going to fly out to Colorado or something. Yep.
Take your firearms with you. Check them. I think there's going to come a day when we're going to see some big issues with this.
I bet you.
And it might be sooner than later.
It might be, because I know one of the outcries was for our president-elect, who I think he put out on using Twitter, that he was sorry to hear about the shooting. Right. And somebody came back and says, well, don't be sorry. We need more gun laws.
Right.
Oh, okay, right off first of all, just getting into the story, like you said, everything was done legally.
Right, yeah. Followed all the protocols.
And
that we know of.
Right, exactly. Now, to go into the soft target area, it was a gun-free zone.
Mm-hmm.
So now, okay, could somebody have stopped them maybe, by chance? Maybe. But
here's my take on this whole thing, and talking about the soft target or the gun-free zone area. Doesn't matter where you put the fence. You got chickens, and you're trying to protect your chickens from the fox. The fox is going to go as far as he possibly can without getting detected. You put that, as long as the fence protects the chickens, he's not going to get the chickens.
Yep.
But depends on how far out you put that fence from where the chickens normally play. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
He's going to go as far as he possibly can. So if you put the guards out on the street corner, all the way from there, all the way to the plane taking off, at some point, something's still going to happen. Depends on where that check.
Well, and that's why I was talking. I was thinking about that as we were just discussing that in Nashville. I saw them before I got into the check.
Mm-hmm.
So after the check, they must think that
they've cleared everybody,
because you've already checked your bags.
Right.
Everything is taken away from you unless you have it on you.
Right.
So downstairs where your bags come out when you arrive, I guess I'll have to pay attention next time I'm there. I'll have to go down there and I'll go look and see if there's actually police officers walking down there as well.
What about coming back home when you get off the plane back home?
Oh, when I got back home, the tumbleweeds were rolling through the Bishop Airport, and we were the only 15, 20 people. Well, actually, it was a full plane.
Right.
But it was a small plane. So
you flew back into Flint, not Detroit.
Right. I flew back into Flint. And,
okay.
And the kind of, obviously being only 10 minutes away from there makes it really nice.
Right.
But there's hardly anybody ever there.
What I noticed the day of that is our news station, the one I work at, did a live report from that airport.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And there was I believe there was a Michigan State police officer on patrol there in that area.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken. And I don't know if that was just protocol because of the shooting or what.
When I went there, it was 5 a.m. It wasn't a lot of people. So I didn't see any police officers then. And then once I got into my check, after the check, didn't see any. And vice versa, when I came home, I didn't see any. Now, there might have been more when you were there, because it was, did you do that in the evening? Or midday?
It was during my 4 o'clock
Your
show.
shift?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So,
4 o'clock.
Yeah, so, I'm hoping, instead of going after more laws.
Right.
And what you just said was kind of funny about something's going to come up. I almost see okay, we have to take our guns to the, pick one of them, FedEx, UPS, and we have to ship them to our destination.
Maybe.
And we can't fly with them.
Yeah, maybe. You never know.
Right, exactly.
You never know, man.
Who knows what can become of this. But there again, the goofball.
Hey, there's an idea for somebody out there who wants to start a company. Shipping guns out, to your hunting destination. Man, that's a great way to make some money.
Absolutely.
I want a cut of that action, though.
Think about it, though. You're going to have to go in there and do that. Ship from your door to wherever you're going door.
Yeah, and the way the planes run these days, you'd actually probably get there. You're going to get there before you would, which is what it's supposed to be anyway.
Right. So
maybe days before.
Delivery by drone.
Hey, there you go.
So there you go. This is we don't know what's going to happen.
No, that's the one thing about this. I feel some way that this is going to impact hunters somewhere at some point down the line. So
we're just going to have to wait and see what the new president-elect
does with this situation.
It's only the tip of the iceberg of what he's going to be thrown at in the next 100 days of his presidency.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's throw at our guest right now our next break.
All right, let's do it.
Step outside, and we'll be right back after this.
So what do you do when you've completely redefined the way bows are engineered? When you've reached the pinnacle and the band starts playing your victory song, you start a revolution out of thin air. Introducing the all-new PSE Carbon Air, engineered with true carbon technology to be the lightest high-performance bow in the world. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
We know the future of hunting depends on our nation's youth. But did you know that in many states, it's illegal for you to take your son or daughter hunting until the age of 12 or even older? As a result, we have fewer young hunters, and the Families Afield program is designed to eliminate those barriers. Hunting is safe, and the safest hunters afield are young people with adult mentors. Visit our website at familiesafield.org to find out how you can bring more families afield.
Welcome back, everybody. We're back in the third segment of the show here. What goes on during a commercial? See, if you're watching Facebook Live, you actually would have been able to see it. Yeah, that's just cycling through.
Right. There's a comment there, isn't there?
Oh, yes, there is. She says that she would like a chicken salad sandwich, please. Really? Come on now.
There you go.
Those of you guys that are listening to the podcast, you're going to have to go back and actually watch the live stream of segment 3 to understand what's going on, what we're talking about in the break. So.
Oh, and we got a Go Pack Go.
Oh, man. All right. Getting back to, we were going to break. Bob Rich was commenting. He shot us a couple messages there real quick.
And truthfully,
it's true.
Common sense comments.
Yeah, common sense comments. Talking about a gun-free zone. You could pull right up to the curb with a suitcase full of explosives, walk in, and boom, And he said the whole wing would go up. And it's true. There's no guards there.
Okay, I'll revert back to when I was in Nashville. I could have gotten, with my suitcase, to a spot. If I had explosives, I could have took a lot of people.
Yeah.
Real quick.
And it doesn't matter, like I said, where that fence is, where that line of security is. people are still going to press up to it and try to actually get past that as far as they can. And, it's a no-win situation.
Yep, exactly. It's an evil we're fighting.
Yep,
right?
Yep, exactly. So let's move on. Let's talk about some good stuff.
Let's do it.
I got news this week. 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be cutting logs on my place. Now, what's going on at your place?
So I made after the first year, contacted the forester. Everybody sent in their paperwork that needed to send in. We've got 200 acres, and the forester said that one of the 40s is half its age, and we probably should let that 40 go by this time around for logging. It's not old enough to be logged to get the maximum value for its logs.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. And I was trying to think about that, and I was picturing in my mind going through, okay, he's the pro, right? So,
right.
But we do have 160 acres that we can go ahead with. And what he did was he took, so we got 4 40-acre squares.
Okay.
So what he did is I have 2 and my cousin has 2. And so he split those up that way.
Okay. So
that's how we'll get paid, everything. And then he went in and subdivided those areas by units. And I think those units are divided up as to what crop of trees mainly is in that area.
Okay.
Not 100% sure, but that's how I was deducting.
So you kind of a guesstimate of what you're going to get out of it.
Right. And,
okay.
I could see where he, all the pine and the green he had in one, and, hardwoods was in another.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, we're going to leave all the longer growing trees, a tree that takes longer to mature, we're going to leave those.
Okay.
And so we're going to go after the other trees and hardwoods. So as of Friday, he sent us a copy of how he sends out the bid, and he asked if it was okay. And he's got it subdivided into 4 categories of woods and approximate cordage per area per type of
species.
Yes.
Okay.
So he'll send that out. He'll give them 2 weeks, and he sends it out to a number of loggers in the area.
Sure.
Anywhere, I want to say it's between 10 and 20.
Okay.
And then so he'll give them 2 weeks, and then at 3 o'clock on January 20th, all the bids have to be in, and then he'll lock it down, and then he'll reveal to us, okay, so we got 15 bids in. Here's the bids. What do you guys want to do?
What do you want to do? Yeah, pick your logger and let's go.
Right.
Yep.
And so from that point on, he'll draw up a contract with the logger, and they'll have approximately 2 to 3 years to complete the contract.
Okay, so you don't know if it's going to get cut this year or not.
Right, because one of the questions I had was, okay, so a timeline of this, what are we looking? They're going to start next, this spring. He said, well, typically I give them between 2 and 3 years. And it really depends on, they might be in the area, whoever we pick. So it might end up being faster. Or maybe it's not a specific species of log they're going after. So it becomes a logger for them to make the decision.
Do you know if you've got any disease creeping through your area? Any tree diseases?
He did not say that.
That'd be something I'd be concerned about.
Right. So I will ask him. That's a very good question. I can email and ask him. I want to get him on the show.
Okay. You got oak wilt, we got spruce budworm. Those are 2 things we've been dealing with at our place.
Right.
And that's why we jumped on this second cut so quick.
Yeah. So hopefully in 2 weeks we'll the bids will be in. Then I'll get with my cousin and we'll
make a
decision, and then he'll drop the contract, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well,
so with that being said, it could happen as soon as possible, or else it could happen. Now, I'm definitely going to state that I don't want it happening at certain times.
November 15th?
No, October. Yeah, November
30th. Or October 1st on.
And I kid you not, it happened.
Yeah.
The property next to us
had him come in during hunting season,
and I know that was specifically why he did that.
Yeah,
to mess up the hunters in the area.
Yeah,
he's the same guy that walked the property line with a broom handle.
Yeah,
and hit every tree on his walk.
It's just wrong, man.
I don't know if I would do that personally during gun season.
Yeah, it might get some lead thrown your way. You might get some lead poisoning.
But he took a walk opening day with a broom handle and just kind of hit every tree.
So it's one of that broom handle getting stuck somewhere.
Right. And so one year we went out there, and all of a sudden 8 o'clock in the morning, fire up the feller buncher. And,
yeah.
What?
Wow.
So, but anyways, that's where we're at today. So then hopefully, like you said, I'm going to try to get him on the show. Maybe we can
right on.
Talk to him a little bit more. And if we got any other questions, we can throw at him.
Right on. Well, we got a question here.
Oh, well, let's hear it.
We put the little teaser out, and our buddy Charles out in Iowa, he has actually several questions. We're going to kind of expand on this whole topic here if we can as we go along. But he says he wants to know about our habitat plans on our properties, you and me both. He says we've been talking about the logging and knows that you're going to be logging at your place. But besides that, just adding food plots, what about adding cover? Also creating deer beds. Is there plans for that? Will you be planting things like willows that can also be food when there's heavy snow? In a few days, deer season ends there in Iowa, and he's going to start dumping minerals out in a day or two, he says, for supplemental minerals. Will you guys be doing the same thing? Will you put cameras up on these places and start a deer inventory? Will you start coyote hunting anytime soon? Any control burns planned? And he said also, another important question for Mike is Buck Snort going to let Grandpa eat for free? And that goes back to a picture he sent me from Iowa from the Buck Snort restaurant, and that's what I call my grandson. So I said, that's his restaurant, and I don't know. I don't know if my grandson would let me eat free or not. What do you think?
Probably not.
I'm betting
then again, I wonder if we could ever go there and say, hey, this is Buck Snort. Can you get a free meal?
Maybe. So we have to wait and see.
Absolutely.
We go out and visit Charles, maybe. We'll see.
And Charles, those are all great questions.
Okay.
Because right now
do you have plans for this stuff?
I'm kind of developing in my head.
Right.
Because then what I can do is I'll be able to, I now have somebody I can throw these off of the forester and say, hey, this is what I want to do. What do you think?
Right.
I do have 2 mineral sites, one on each 40. In the spring, I'll go back. When I go to open the cabin, I'll go back and refresh those. So that'll carry on. Now, as far as food plots, I would like to get some put in correctly.
Right.
Hopefully I'll be able to get some means bulldozer and clear up a couple spots where I can go in and then I can work the land and work on that.
Gotcha.
Now, for as far as deer cover, deer beds, getting some. Okay, so one of the problems I have is my properties have a road splitting them.
Okay.
The first thing I want to try to do, and I've thought about this.
Paved road?
No, it's a dirt road.
Okay. But a county road?
It's a county plowed road.
Okay.
First thing I want to try to do is maybe think of something I can plant along the edge of the road that becomes a screen.
Gotcha.
So that's my first. I want to go something after that. Maybe Charles has got a real good one with willows. Willows can tend to be bushy.
Right.
And that might be a good idea.
We were thinking about high flowering cranberries. Provides cover.
Oh.
Provides a visual block and also provides food.
Okay.
Just a thought.
And the other question we have off is now because I'm a little bit further north, what can I plant that'll survive?
Right on. Yep.
So that will be one of my questions when I sit down and talk with him about forestry plan. These are all the questions that are going to start to I'm deriving in my head. But the first one is trying to get something to screen off the property. Right.
So people can't, or deer don't see that traffic way down into the property.
Once they jump the road and they jump into the whatever I can get
cover wise,
they're gone.
Right.
So hopefully, with it being logged, the new green up, will be thicker. Because I know in the one area that when we did have it logged, it did that nicely, and they got the little popples and everything, and those. And as soon as you got within 30 yards into there.
Can't see anything.
Right.
Yep.
But there's another spot where it's kind of open. So that's kind of where I'm going. I'll talk more with him when I get to that point. That's kind of where I'm going with that.
Okay.
So
along those lines, I guess, with what I'm looking at, we talked about the bushy type, not willows, but high flowering cranberries, one thing I was looking at. Also, the camp manager and I were talking actually today before this even came up about chestnut trees and sawtooth oaks.
Yep.
Those are things that will actually grow in the area that we have. The problem that we have is soil type. And that's a big consideration of what you can grow. Is what do you have for soil type? How much drainage do you have? Does it hold water? Do you have access to water? those types of things is a big consideration in what you plant. So
exactly, and that's kind of getting the forester on board to help us out with that. I don't want to go spend an X amount of money, go in there, plant something, and realize
dies. Yeah.
Oh,
well, the thing with your camp, you don't have that dynamic like we do with other members,
right?
Specifically, and that's where we have to formulate a plan. We've got to get everybody on board. Okay, we did this logging over here in your area. What do we need to do? What would you like to see done in your area that we can afford to do with what we've harvested? That's the does it fall within our budget? Do we have the means to do it? And will the soil support it? And what are your goals?
Yep, exactly. So, that's like ours is individual dynamics because our parcels are individually owned.
Mm-hmm.
So
the problem that we've got right now is getting that plan formed. And the way we work things at our camp is we're going to have an annual meeting in May. We have it every year in May. Problem is, tree orders have already got to be put in. They need to be being put in now.
I guess
so we can get them.
Either that, or I guess you might be looking at a fall planting,
or maybe even next year.
Right,
holding off a year, which I don't want to do, but just the dynamics of the way we do things, it might have to happen.
Right, because there's only they say there's 2 times to plant trees, spring and fall.
And the other thing is when you plant something small like that, like what I'm talking about, you got to protect it.
Okay.
So we got to talk about fencing and and guards to keep deer away from it. So we're actually contemplating how much we're going to spend on fencing, probably more than the actual trees.
Exactly. You're going to need the tubes. You're going to need the fencing. You're going to need everything to get that tree old enough that it'll survive. Because I've seen this on my cousin's property. As soon as a little tree comes up, they're all over it.
And if it's not the deer, even if you've got a cage around it, and they recommend 4 to 5 feet box square around this tree, so the deer can't get to it. You've also got to think about weeds, crowding it out. You got to put down some kind of mat. You got to think about fertilizer. You got to think about water, soil type. But also, you mentioned tree tubes. That's another thing, is protecting it from like mice that are going to girdle the tree, a young sapling, or rabbits or something can get in through your fencing and get to it and start gnawing.
You can rabbit proof it, but the mice will get past that.
Exactly.
So there's a bunch of questions that, it's just not. And like you said, you'll have a meeting about it, and I'll have a meeting with myself, and we'll go in there and we'll fight about it.
Yep. And actually, he talked about coyotes. One of our members is up at camp this weekend, and there was a question whether they were out coyote hunting or not. I never did get any verification back on that, but we are talking about that as well, trying to put together some type of organized coyote hunt in February, maybe early February at our camp.
Okay.
There's talk of maybe finding a local trapper who would come in and trap the property and keep them thinned out that way. So with our deer co-op, that's one thing that we're trying to encourage, and hopefully we can get people together and say, okay, hey, if we're going to be up this weekend, let's put on a big pot of chili, have a chili cook, have everybody come over. But while we're up here this weekend, let's all get out and let's just smack some coyotes and try to keep that predator population in check as well. So we're thinking about those things. Another thing he mentioned here was deer beds. Specifically near the area that I hunt, my neighbor does a really good job at that. So I'm not going to do any of that in my personal area as far as deer beds go. I'm looking more like you. I'm looking more of a break or a block, and I'm contemplating 2 or 3 different things of getting planted eventually and trying to create those visual blocks.
Right, and along with my area of the deer beds, I've got certain areas right now. I'll have to see how the logging affects them, whether I add to them or I don't touch them at all, because there's a natural bedding area in the cedars that I have going along.
And you're not cutting cedars,
right?
So are you doing a complete clear cut besides that?
Nope.
It's a select cut.
It's a select
kind of like
cut.
what we did.
Anything 8 inches. I'm trying to remember what the contract said. So, no, it's not a clear cut. He already went through the property. He marked all the trees to be taken or not taken. So,
okay.
Yep.
All right.
So it's not a clear cut.
Okay.
Don't clear cut anymore.
All right. So I guess, I don't know. I mean, does that answer his question per se? But I guess that's where
we're at right now, because I'm just starting this. I've got the questions formulated, and I'll talk with our forestry about it.
I guess that's the thing that's really nice about the way you're doing things and the way that we're doing things, is we're doing kind of the same thing, but yet still the dynamics are so different, because we've got a hunting club camp where we've got members, and yours is a private piece of property that you're managing yourself.
I'm going to manage myself.
So
I want to get more involved in that. I want to hands-on type thing.
Right on.
If I can which would be cool if I could run a bulldozer and run it.
That's something I would pay to see.
So stay tuned. But
oh man, that could be trouble. I'm going to sit back from about 100 yards because that way I've got room enough to run, and I'm going to sit there with a video camera.
You go right ahead.
Yeah, I'll fly the drone over top of you too.
And it might come down to being a bobcat. I don't know.
Right on.
We'll see what is available and what I want to get after the logging. I'd like to get a new aerial photo.
Let's just plan on going up. We'll take the drone.
Okay. I'm never going to say no to that. Or
I've never been to your camp.
I know, and we got to change that.
You've been to mine.
I know. You got to come up to my camp.
Well, let's just do it. Let's make a plan.
All right. We can make a plan.
All right.
I got to bring you up in October so we can bow hunt.
All right. That sounds like a plan to me, too.
Well, see, okay, so that's a whole nother
That's another show.
Yeah, another show of...
Well, I tell you what. Let's plan on taking our break right now,
our
last break. Let's get this out of the way, and we'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. We'll be right back after this.
The 2015 Dream Season Decree is a deadly combination of speed and precision. It's built for the moments when time stands still. When the only thing that will break the silence is an arrow slicing a clean path to the kill zone. The bow of your dreams is a nightmare for big game. This is PSE's Decree. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
We know the future of hunting depends on our nation's youth. But did you know that in many states, it's illegal for you to take your son or daughter hunting until the age of 12 or even older? As a result, we have fewer young hunters, and the Families Afield program is designed to eliminate those barriers. Hunting is safe, and the safest hunters afield are young people with adult mentors. Visit our website at familiesafield.org to find out how you can bring more families afield.
Welcome back. Last segment of the show. When we went to break, we checked on our stream here, and Tom Covert actually posted that he logged 40 acres at his camp years ago, and the problem they had was walking around afterwards the way they left the tops and things.
Right, and going back over 20 years when we had the property first logged, the guy was brutal about the ruts. Not so much the tops.
Depends on which way you have it cut. You can do, I forget what they call it, but you do it on site where they top them right at that place. And that's what we did on our last cut. This cut, we're dragging them out to a landing, and then we're processing them at the landing versus out where they're felled.
All right. And I'm going to ask my forester about that. Yeah. And see what does he
pros and cons of both.
Exactly. What's he recommend for? Well, I know he likes to drop them in smaller piles. For rabbits.
Right. And if you can drag them out, scars the land up, you're dropping your seeds down, it's getting them buried into the soil, creating ruts and roughing that soil up. So it helps for that rejuvenation. When you've got bigger piles like that too, those piles will actually act as a guard to keep the deer away from getting those new sprouts that come up. It's kind of like its own little barrier.
Yep, and it protects them till they get tall enough to come up through the top, and by then they're old enough that they'll be able to survive.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, I don't know, Tom. I'll let you know kind of how this next one goes. I think what we're going to do, if I'm not mistaken, is I think the tops are going to be chipped.
Okay.
For us once they come out. So, we will see. We will see how that goes. So.
That's a mighty fine looking hoodie you got there.
Yeah, Deb asked us. His wife actually asked if we planned this matching hoodies tonight. Yes, we did. He come over and had it on, and I already had mine sitting out. So yeah,
because I knew what you were wearing because you
went Facebook Live.
And I was like, oh, he's wearing it. I'll wear mine.
There you go.
We can look like twins.
There you go. Well,
I'm Danny DeVito.
I don't know about that.
You're Arnold Schwarzenegger.
There you go.
So yeah, you know what? Here we are. We're last segment. You know what that means.
Tomorrow, where are we going to be, man?
Oh, dude. T-minus, 24 hours we'll be there.
Yeah, 12 hours from now we'll be probably heading out.
We'll see what Mother Nature and my alarm clock says, and we'll talk about it after the show. And
right.
You know what? We'll get out of here. We'll get down there, and we're going to be at the ATA show.
It's going to be but fun.
It's going to be interesting because of the new method that they instituted.
Yeah.
We're going to go down there and do a All right, you've changed it. How has it changed?
Yeah, is it better? Is it worse?
Right, or the same.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get down there. We're gonna do some talking, do some walking.
Yep.
There's nothing like putting on a few miles on the old. I bought some new shoes.
Good. Got them broke in. I hope.
Got some new tennies.
They broke in?
No, they're brand new.
Ooh, that ought to be fun.
They're running shoes.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna be running.
And we got our buddy going with us.
That's right.
The Up North Journal Gnome will be traveling tomorrow. You're going to see some posts from him probably along the way. We'll be live streaming as well. So shoot us messages while we're down there. Hit us on Facebook. Post on our Facebook page. We're going to be going live, but if there's something that you really like us to take a look at, we've got a few requests already.
Right, we got some requests, and we're going to, if we see something kind of cool and interesting, we're going to stop and check it out.
Yep, definitely. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I'm hoping it is a lot of fun. I just seen him post here on this, so I'm hoping we got a lot of information to give you guys, some new stuff. We're kind of going in a little different direction this year with some things, and we're looking at some different stuff. So
right.
Hopefully it's going to be entertaining. Hopefully it's going to be educational and be rewarding for you as the listener and those watching on Facebook as well.
And hopefully we got enough bandwidth we can get out.
That's the thing. And even if not, we're going to record stuff and we'll be posting it when we get back in the evening at the hotel room. So, if we don't get it during the day, check in the evenings and see what we're doing. So
yeah, and tomorrow night, I don't know about you, but we got some things we're going to take care of. We're going to go to the OutTech party, and I don't know how long you want to stay there, but
Roll Tide, baby.
There's going to be a game on tomorrow night.
Absolutely.
Right?
We got to find a place that's got a big screen TV that I can sit back and watch the end of the game. And I'm going to have my phone with me, and I'm going to be checking it out. So, if Clemson wins, I mean, I know we're getting off topic of the outdoors now, but if Clemson wins, I'm happy with it.
They're a good team.
Dabo Sweeney, the coach for Clemson, is an Alabama guy. So
there you go.
He played down there with Gene Stallings back in the '92 championship team, I believe. So I'm good with him winning. I want my team to win, obviously, but
I wonder how many other people tomorrow night that's supposed to be going to the ATA show
will be watching the game,
will be heading for the game. But we'll have to see what's new and innovative. We'll check out the Innovative Zone. Our own Mark Hammer is going to be there.
Yeah, Mark's going to be there with
Antler Action.
Antler Action's got the booth set up. We'll be talking with him, checking out to see if anything new's coming out his way as well. So
absolutely, and we'll make a few stops and share it with our folks.
Absolutely. So other than that,
we've got some cold weather that finally moved in. Started last week. I've been by a couple of lakes and I see some ice shanties out there.
Oh, shanties are out?
Yep.
Okay, so we're getting some good ice.
There must be some good ice.
Good deal.
I've seen a couple spots that they trucked out and they were dropping a line in.
Trucked out?
Trekked.
Oh, I say if anybody drives a truck on a lake right now, they're crazy.
No.
You'd be at the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, it would be. So, it's just one of those things. When we get back from ATA, after that, the following weekend, the 21st, we're going to be at Benefit for Kids.
Absolutely. Be a fun weekend down there. We got a table full there.
Last year was a blast. It's a great benefit. It's huge. It's a big money get for Benefit for Kids to help these kids with all their wishes wherever they might be wanting to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a tearjerker. Depending on
the stories here.
Tears of happiness and joy, and so that'll be coming up. And then
check out their website. It's the letter B, the number 4, and the letter K.org. B4K.org. Check them out because you can make contributions there without going to the event itself. So if you want to help a kid get his wish hunt or outdoor activity, contribute that way as well.
Yep, exactly. So you know what? And then we'll have 1 weekend left, and we're going to be heading into February. So
400th episode's coming up, and I want to throw something out there. We really don't have big plans set for that 400th episode yet. That's in 4 weeks, 4 episodes. This is episode 396. If there's something you think we should do for our 400th episode, within reason, let us know what it is. And if it's something we can do, we'll make it happen. So we're looking for suggestions of something you'd like to see us try or see us do or go to a place and do some event, what have you. But it's going to be the first weekend in February, I believe. So
I think I got it.
You got it? You already got it? Don't tell anybody. Let's see what everybody else says.
I think that's a great idea. We can just do it right here in your backyard.
We're not going to go ice fishing in the pool.
Oh, you're going to do the polar plunge into the
No.
I'm going to cut a hole in the pool ice, and you're going to do a plunge.
I'll take you up to Perchville. We'll do that again. I'll throw you on ice.
That ain't happening.
All right, so that's all we got this week, folks. First show of 2017.
Stay tuned for us next week. We'll be talking, I'm sure, a little bit about ATA.
Absolutely. That'll do it for us this week, folks. This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Black Eagle Arrows,
Cabela's,
Antler Action,
Spot Shooter Archery,
Tom's Custom Turkey Calls,
Family Traditions Tree Stands,
and Badass Slingshots.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.